Well, good Saturday afternoon, friends. Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. I hope everybody's having a great day. It is Saturday afternoon, and I'm kind of slowing down today. It's kind of rainy, it's kind of chilly outside. I'm working on trying to get my porch swing put up, but it's chilly, and I just kind of feel like just kind of chilling. I've made some changes up here in the upstairs area at the Red Brick House. I took the 65-inch TV and I've mounted it up here, which is nice because I got the couch right here and I can lay on the couch and just kind of lay and look up at the television. And of course, I got my studio desk over there on the other side where I do most of my videos and things for the channel. And I was watching because the NFL Network today is, of course, getting you psyched up because Monday begins free agent frenzy. And we've talked about, the Cowboys going all in. And let's be clear here, Cowboys ain't doing anything different than they've been doing in the past. We could only hope that Jerry Jones would go all in. But we'll see what we're going to see. Now, a couple of things that have been going on is, of course, people talking about Derrick Henry or Saquon Barkley to the Cowboys. So what does NFL Network do? They actually have, if you look up in the corner there, free agent showcase, Saquon Barkley. And they're showing the Tennessee Titans versus the Giants, week number 1 of 2022. And that was a great game. It was an incredible game, one of the best games that Barkley's had in years. He had 164 yards, and they ended up beating the Titans. Now, Derrick Henry, on the other hand, had only 89 yards. 89 yards on 3.9 yards a carry in a loss. Now, here's what's interesting here is Derrick Henry, beginning of that season, was coming off of an injury year. Now, this is what's crazy because Derrick Henry ended up being 9th in rushing in 2021. 2021 with like 980 yards, okay? And you're thinking, that's not that good. He missed 9 games. He missed 9 games and was the first running back to miss that kind of time and still finish in the top 10. Now, am I going to say that Derrick Henry is the same Derrick Henry that he was years ago? Probably not. Last year, he averaged 4.2 yards a carry on a bad team, a really bad team. On the flip side, Saquon Barkley averaged 3.9 yards a carry on a bad team as well. The thing that I look at here, and as I watch this game, and if you'll remember how things got to be a little bit ugly between the Giants and Saquon, where they were like, well, we're going to franchise tag you. We don't want to do a long-term deal, in which case they actually didn't. They ended up basically giving him an extra $1 million on the franchise tag for him to stay just to kind of keep him happy. But the knock on Saquon Barkley has been, as great as that game was, is that was the peak of the season. As the season goes on, his numbers get to be worse. His last game of this past season, he averaged only like 2.9 yards a carry and was not really much of a factor. Now, I get it. It was late in the season was over and everything else and such. But if you're, generally speaking, you're getting weaker as the season goes on more than others, that don't help the Cowboys any. Derrick Henry, on the other side of the equation, had one of his best games to finish off the season. And typically is a bruising back that can take abuse. Now, do I see the Cowboys making a move like that? I don't know. I don't know what's in the Cowboys' mentality because we all know what the problems are. Jerry Jones finally has actually said the same thing I've been saying year after year after year. It's you must, when the playoffs come, be able to run the football. And the problem has been, much the way I'm talking about Saquon, by the end of the season, it's the same thing with Zeke Elliott. The last 2 years that Zeke Elliott was here, he had the hyperextended knee and the PCL. PCL, remember? He had the PCL injury, the postate collateral ligament, which was strained. Okay, and then he had the hyperextended knee, and that happened about the middle of the season. And you looked at, like 4.3, 4.4 yards the first half of the season, and then you look at like 3.5 and 3.4 yards the second half. And by the time we get to the playoffs, don't talk about playoffs. By the time we get to the playoffs, we look at playoff games where he's getting like 25 yards. Bro, that ain't gonna cut it. Remember back in the days when we were winning Super Bowls, when we would have Emmitt Smith, who separated his shoulder. They didn't tell Emmitt Smith, hey man, Troy Aikman and the offensive line and everybody else got this. No, they strapped that mother humper arm on, and he still rushed for like over 150 yards because we needed that production to win in the playoffs. So if you're going to say Saquon, who is dynamic with 164 yards in the first week of the season, but isn't going to get you production in the playoffs, it's not going to help you. It's not. It's just not. Now, we're hearing rumors, of course, that, see, this is what's actually amazing, is when rumors start is where they start and how they take off. So I was looking at an article that came through that said Dallas sports radio host talks about Derrick Henry. I was like, like somebody else is talking about it besides, Jeff Kavanaugh? Because Kavanaugh went on and said, there's where there's smoke, there's fire. And so now what you see is how it is going and growing and growing and growing by people saying, oh man, there's rumors about the Cowboys are interested with Derrick Henry. And there may be, but you look at where the source comes from. That Jeff Kavanaugh isn't a bullshitter. He's not a clickbaiter. He's not that kind of guy. He might know something, or he's heard from some people that are in the organization and things that may actually look at that. Because here's where things could be really interesting. If you're taking like all the information that's out there. See, ultimately, I believe that the days of a bellwether back are kind of over. And because this same issue that I'm telling you about is when you put all of your eggs in that one running back basket and you have him have the lion's share of those carries, that by the end of the season they're worn down. Having 2 or 3 backs that you split the time, if one of them goes down, you got a backup. Or, I lost him. Hey. But look at that. Missed 9 games, most all time in making the top 10. Okay, so let me freeze that again. So now what you're looking at is having multiple backs. And I'm not going to turn around and say, let's have Derrick Henry for every single play. No. Article that I read by Bill Barnwell believes that Tony Pollard has dropped into the tier 4 group of running backs. And by that means backup, high-end backup. Not a full-time running back like the Cowboys tried to make him be, which I don't think he ever was. But if you ended up having Tony Pollard, in his case being there, that's a $4 to $5 million a year guy. It's not bad. But I can bring back Tony Pollard because here's where it's interesting. Tony Pollard's numbers, he averaged 4.1 yards a carry to Saquon's 3.9. Now, granted, the Cowboys had a better offense and things, and having Dak, being able to open up the field helped. But it's not that much different. You're looking at probably Saquon looking for $10+ million. I don't know if he's going to get it. But if I can get Tony Pollard for half, I think I'm actually okay there. But if you put in this equation of Derrick Henry, and let's say he's $6 million. If we're saying 4 or 5 for Tony Pollard, and we can get Derrick Henry for 6, and I'm allowing $11 million for running back position, where I've got now 2 dynamic backs, I'm okay with that. I'm really okay with that because now I'm not going to kill Tony Pollard. He may get back some explosiveness after, a year removed from the broken leg. And I've got Derrick Henry, who can be my bruising back, but I don't have to run him 25, 30 times a game. if I run him 15 to 20 and I get Tony Pollard in there 10 or so, 10 to 12 times, and use him outside in space, that takes some pressure off the quarterback and opens up the whole field, because now people are having to worry about putting 8 men in the box. And if you can have Derrick Henry fresh in a fourth quarter running the football, when you've got a lead, you're going to be killing people. And that's one of those things that it was hard for us to do, or for us to basically play ball control. Now, I don't know that they will do this, but it's kind of crazy that right now, here it is, free agent frenzy starts on Monday, and the Cowboys have made two moves. Getting Zach Martin's deal restructured to get him under the cap, and basically ensuring that Trey Lance will be back here. That's it. They haven't cut anybody. They haven't signed anybody. They ain't extended anybody. They've done absolutely nothing. And you're seeing teams that have been out there gutting their roster, trying to make a play to get some cap relief, so that way they can be players. We're the Cowboys. We don't do any of that. So we'll see where all this goes. And I have hopes. I always have hopes. But if you hope for the best and expect the worst, you'll never be disappointed. Peace. I'll see you guys soon. Oh, down goes Daniel Jones. Aw.